Welcome to the Art of Succession podcast with Barrett Young. Join us as we explore the strategies, stories, and insights that shape the journey of leadership transitions and business success. No matter where you find yourself along the journey, this is the podcast where you'll find the tools to make it happen.
We tell them, take the kind of risks that we didn't at your age. Now, of course, we want to give other parents hope and get excited about their own family situation, because every family is a little bit unique. So in the process of writing about it, one is you're going to develop your vocabulary in that field, but also it's going to help you wrestle with what it is you're really after.
Welcome back to part 3 of our 3-part discussion with Jonathan and Renee Harris, talking about parenting their passion. If you want to jump back to part 1 of this discussion, where we talk about the origins of the family business and raising 9 kids in the family business, you can find the beginning of that episode linked right here. Otherwise, let's get back to the episode. About succession, you guys have made it clear, like, you don't have to follow in our footsteps with the business, the online business. But how have you walked that? But it is an option if you are interested. And maybe tell me just a little bit about your current plans with the company and where your kids are today, and just talk a little bit about that. Out of 9 kids, are there some that have wanted to? Or go ahead.
I think, well, we had mostly boys and we sell skincare products. So right there, it's a little, but the way, we talked about the tech son, and we have another one that he was very much part of helping on the shipping and the software side. He's now, he's like a project manager, but I would call him an efficiency expert. Like, he can come into a small business and tell you exactly how to make things run smoothly and efficiently. And that's a whole journey and story in itself. But he knows a lot about our business. And I feel like if we were to suddenly pass away, he could probably put everything in place to get it going, either to sell or to continue going, partly because he worked in it really closely with me before he moved out, but also because he knows how a lot of small businesses run. So I can see him having a part in that. The first 2 hadn't really participated too much, in my daughter, who's number 3 or 4, I guess.
At that time, our business was way too small.
It was really small. It was mostly when the one I'm talking about is our 5th son. When he was a teenager about to move out, he had a big part in it. Right now, it's really the ones helping me is my 16-year-old and my 14-year-old. So my 14-year-old's a daughter, and the 16-year-old, he wouldn't be interested in taking it on, but he could put pieces together if we needed that. So my hope is that, like, I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old daughter. So
the last two.
Yeah. So if there's something that they don't see it now, I don't think my daughter my older of the 2 sees that as like, oh, it's not something I want to do the rest of my life. I think once they hit an age where they could see, oh, I could be doing this from home. Oh, I can be my own boss. I can set my own hours. Like, oh, I'd rather do this than, do other jobs or work for somebody else. I think the whole self-employment thing would be more interesting to her. So I can see that being an option in the future. I mean, other than that, I think the kids would, well, I always tease my older boys, like, if you could just marry somebody who really wants to, get into this, I can train them. So there's always that option too. So we're not there yet. And sometimes I think, well, let's just put as much as we can in place to be able to pass it on, whether we sell it or whether we pass it on to one of the kids, or if, God forbid, we died and they have to figure it all out. The more that we have things in place that makes it easier, then the better the handover would be. So it's not someone having to figure out, oh, where are your passwords? Where do you how to use a software? So I think anybody's business owner would benefit from just having things in place that would make it easy for somebody else to come on board and learn from.
Jonathan, any input on that?
Yeah, I think obviously we'd like to scale it a lot more, because once you scale it, we would definitely outsource some of our activities, and that would pivot things much more into the marketing part of the business. But we're not at that stage. Yeah. So we did that. That's a difficult point, and that has influenced us as to what we tell our kids to do. And that's why we tell them, take the kind of risks that we didn't at your age. Now, of course, they're taking risks that if they fail, it's not as drastic at this point in their life. If we fail, it's difficult for all of our family to go move in someone's couch in their living room, right? Where
Yeah.
they're at this stage, they can easily do this or move to another town. So we are we do see them take risks that we definitely would not have thought of taking when we were their age. But that's also because they're influenced by our experience in being a little more aggressive in taking opportunities and waiting for an employer to tell you what to do. So we're cognizant of that. And so we're hoping that we can pass on something, but at the same time, the children themselves are developing their businesses so quickly that they don't need to look at that. But it would be nice if maybe some of the younger ones would like to take that on. Plus, the customer facing part has to be female, honestly. So I think early on when we started this business, I was trying to write email marketing, like as if I was my old world of project management. And my wife had to tell me, this is a no-go. You don't talk to women like this at all. So I had to unlearn all my business, project management, the way you communicate in the corporate world, out the window. And so she stepped in, and she has become quite the email marketing queen, to be honest. But those are the realities of a business, and we talk about this in front of our kids. The customer really is king, and they may be frustrating, they may be sometimes a little crazy, but at the end of the day, we're still serving them. So we have to think about what they want and then adjust it to what we know can be done. So I think that's kind of an ambiguous answer. Is like, we don't know how big we can get this, and we would like to grow it much bigger. But if there is a piece of advice I give to other people, is that we have had friends or known people where they've taken some pretty crazy risk, and sometimes it blows up. Like, they put everything on the line, their house, their mortgage, their marriage even. And we won't take those. We won't take that level of risk. We'll take other risks, but not that kind of risk. So you have to choose wisely the advice you get. Some of that sort of high stake rolling, like put everything on the line, is okay if you're 21, right? What are you going to lose? You're just going to have to move to a new state. But if you have a whole family, that's a little more, you still want to maintain, a marriage. You want to pay attention to your kids. So I think you have to pay attention to the kind of advice you're getting. Somebody who's going to advise a corporation is going to sound very reckless for your family situation. You can't just plunk, a new retail center with $10 million. And if it doesn't work, it's okay, because you got 20 other centers. If you're a family, that might be your last go round. You might write back into an employee mindset, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds to me, what has set you guys apart from other family businesses is you all through this process, through their teenage years and launching out on their own, you've never hung your hat on one of them taking this over. And there's never been that pressure of, you have to take this over. This is our legacy. This is what we've been building. Your legacy is your kids. Your legacy is the lessons that they've learned along the way.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to the end of the store, whatever happens there is going to end up happening there. But they were free. Correct me if I'm wrong, as they outgrew their roles within the company, or like you guys said, as they got too expensive for you, you just said, we'll supplement it with other designers or other subcontractors and things, rather than say, no, you have to stay here. Is that correct?
Yeah, although I do think they would see the value in continuing it if we were not. Like, I think they see the value in some way or another. They're a couple of my kids are so used to being able to be kind of a boss. One of them has employees under him, that if he saw the value of, oh, this is a stream of income, it would just be an extra side, income for me if I put people in place to manage it and run it. And they were just
sure.
at the top
Yeah.
making the decisions. I can see them having the ability to do that. A few of the kids,
Yeah, they would not be afraid of doing that.
yeah, rather than like, oh, it's just going to die, and it's fine with us if they decide
it wouldn't
to,
just
like,
collapse kind of
it
thing.
won't collapse.
There's value there for anybody to step into.
And if they decide to sell it, we wouldn't. It's not like, a farm or something that you feel like, oh no, this is our land. We've had this for 100 years. But if they decide to sell it, I would say, hey, go for it. Go use the money and use it wisely and do your thing. But yeah.
All right. Again, coming to the end, but I still have so many things I want to talk about. Just talk a little bit about Parent Their Passion. You mentioned it early on in the show, Jonathan, this is another business or another way that you guys are coaching, running seminars? What's that look like?
Yeah, it's basically, this is our passion part that's not really making money yet, but we want to share this with other parents. And we started sharing that with friends. And then we started clarifying our thinking about this because, like I said, a lot of it we're actually deliberately experimenting. We were self-aware that we were experimenting with our kids in a fun way, nothing dangerous. And that sort of coalesced into this thing that we now call Parent Their Passion. To show you how we evolved in our thinking, in the beginning, I used to call it 10K to town, which means 10,000 hours of practice by the time you graduate. People understand that concept. You got to put the hours in. People understand that for sports, but they don't understand that level of time you need to put into whatever it is you want to become good at. But a coach actually told us that's a bad thing because all the parents are going to think about is all the work. What you want is to focus on the outcome. And it's like, oh yeah, you want your kids to have passion, right? So we call it Parent Their Passion. You're still going to have to put the hours in. And if you do it in the teen years, you can actually rack up quite a bit of hours more easily than you think. So I think that we want to give other parents hope and get excited about their own family situation, because every family is a little bit unique. And if you can look at your family, and of course, if you have a personal business too, that's even more exciting. But if you look at what you have, you can get really excited about it. And each of your children, not just one kid, all of your kids can have a chance to really find their way early on in a way that they're excited about. Because how many guys they're into work and it's like, this is not the work. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to provide for the family, but this is not where I imagine myself being. Right. So what happens if you could start sooner and marry skills with passion? And it is true. You see all the memes out there. You can't live off of passion. That's true. And you can live off of skills, but your heart dies. Well, what happens if you married skill and passion together? But that usually requires you to start sooner and have that runway during the teen years when you're safe to, you have a roof over your head, you've got food, you've got parents who love you no matter if you fail or not. You have the time with the parents, coaching you to develop that so you can marry skill and passion. And so now you have a marketable talent. So I think that I want to give parents hope that instead of being discouraged about where they're going with their teens, so they love them, but sometimes they feel like they're going nowhere with them, that they can actually look within their family and find the resources that they already have. They just don't know they have it. They already have it. And that's what we like teaching parents. It's like how to find those resources that you already have and turn that into something empowering for your kids.
And then we've also documented what we've been doing. So we have so many blog posts and videos. I have videos. I've been embarrassing my older kids lately with posting them where I'm talking to them about a certain part of their talent
when they were young.
And then I zoom into what they're doing today. So from 12 to 23, that transition, and which I'm so glad we did that. We didn't really, I don't know why we did. We just decided to document along the way
with our kids. So.
Yeah. Well, and then just having that whole process. So now when we talk to parents, we've been able to kind of hone in on it. There is a process you can follow to identify that, because it's kind of going from, well, we just got asked that a lot. And that's why we decided, another reason why we decided, let's just put this out there, because people they would meet our kids and then they ask, well, what did your parents do at home?
They
don't always ask us, they ask the kids that all the time. So I thought, well,
want to hear the truth.
Yeah, exactly. I want to know that we're not, So that's when we decided, let's try locally now and have just workshops. So we've been putting on workshops, and we're noticing this huge need. The parents are coming in, some with 12-year-olds, some are like 10. Is my son too young? He's 10, but I really want him to get started on this. And then some that are like 16, 17, and the parents like, can you kind of help me out here? And so we are seeing all these different families, but they all are kind of coming with the same problem or looking for that hope of what can you do with this? Does this work for my family, my situation, or where we, maybe we were just lucky in the way we did it. But so that we have a whole process and pattern that you follow in order to get started. And parents have to don't think you have to come up with the answer of what your 12-year-old is going to do at 20. It's not like that. It's a pivoting, but just for us to kind of come into this is where our passion would be. If this is a legacy, it's the Parent Their Passion business more than the lotion business of what can we now do to pass on to other parents and our kids as they have kids too. Hopefully they'll see that this is a good pattern that they want to continue on. So for us, that would be something that we would love to see our kids continue in. So that's the succession part.
So what does that look like today? I mean, I'm not local, Northern California, so I can't attend a seminar. So
it's all online too. No, we have it all online.
Is it a course? Is it as a website, just a collection of blog posts?
We have several courses online.
What's the plan for that?
Several courses online. You can follow the exercises that go with it, and we're in, I think in every single course, and you and I are in the video too.
Yeah. So each of those lessons. Just identifying the talent. So we really target ages 12 to 16, and that is just geared towards teenagers to come on, and then we take them through a video and then
take it by themselves.
Yeah, they take it by themselves. Okay. I personally, it's great if the parents could take it separately just to see.
So remember, we do have one that's just for the teens to take if they want to do it by themselves. And then there's another one for the parents to do with the teens. So it's a little more involved, a little more, telling the parents what they can do to help figure that out. So we have that. And we have another one, the blogging to the talent. That's a really fascinating concept.
That's the one that we had started way back, doing short videos, step by step of how a kid can get started just doing a blog. And not even a WordPress blog. We found a site that you can have 10 accounts, super easy. So if you have a 12-year-old that's not techie and you just want them to stay in their little lane and write and follow the prompts that we give them, it develops their talent building. So 40 different videos. I'm in there with my 12-year-old, like I look like a 20-year-old practically now. And it's like years and years ago, but just doing the step-by-step process with the kids. And then the kids know exactly what to act on. And in some of the videos, we're talking to the adults, the parents. So it can be either way, but really the kids or the adults can actually take it from starting a blog with, a certain type of easy software to use. And then sometimes it's like, how are you going to go find what to write about or get better? What do you research in your field of interest and how? And then
it's all based around developing and articulating your focus of what it is your teen's trying to do, right? So it's not a blog about your feelings of the day or random stuff that happened. It's specifically, if you like bicycles but you don't know how that goes into your future, you're going to start writing about it. So in the process of writing about it, one is you're going to develop your vocabulary in that field, but also it's going to help you wrestle with what it is you're really after. So it's that concept of constantly pivoting, thinking about it. So socializing yourself in that space so you can connect with other people who are also, either a little ahead of you, they can give you advice, or you're a little ahead of them. In fact, that's one of the advice I give to people is imagine it's yourself 6 months ago. What would you tell yourself 6 months ago? That's one way to think about it. So those online courses, we have those. They've been there for a while. And we got tons and tons of free videos where I interview people. And we also have an automated newsletter. So
a newsletter is a great place to start. It's free just to get on the newsletter because it is a mindset switch. So just taking it just one piece of writing at a time. And then we weave in stories of, okay, here's an example of how we did it with this particular kid. And, if you have one that's more artistically bent, this is what we did. And if you have one that's more techie or more athletic or however, it's each email that goes out is very specific and kind of helping to understand the mindset.
All right, great. Yeah, we'll definitely link all that down in the show notes. Anything further before we jump into the lightning round here that we haven't covered?
I think just parents should have hope because it is a hard world to live in, but there are so many resources that and I think there are a lot of things that parents have that they are good at that can be passed on to kids. I think once kids kind of feel a little bit more confident or can find one or two things that they really enjoy doing and are good at or want to get better at, just kind of getting the conversation going between parent and kid is just a good start, and it's not too late to start.
I'm going to ask a question about hope. Talk to me about your adult children and appreciation and just the relationships that you're able to have with them now that they're out of the house, and
I think
give some hope to the parents of teenagers out there.
Well, for one of that I love seeing is how much they help each other out because they know who is good at what, and there's always a time when one needs help with something, and they go to each other. Like I need help with this. They know who to go to, and they get help. And that for me as a mom to see your kids getting along so well because they each have so much respect for each other is very good. You probably have more to.
I think that's right. I think when they first get out of the home, which is normal, they think that the rest of the world operates the way we do, and every family goes and they go out there. It's kind of like, oh, I don't need to eat healthy, and then after you're like, oh my goodness, I'm becoming, overweight, and I don't feel good just only eating fast food. And then they realize, oh, I guess our way of cooking wasn't so bad after all.
No, and
So
I
they go through that with the career stuff, and they see friends who were happy when they're in high school, and now they're starting to become discouraged, and they realize, well, oh, it's because they haven't been developing anything of their own, so they feel like they're constantly starting at the bottom, and they make that connection more a few years or 2 or 3 years after they leave home, because they don't make always that connection. Why is my friend always depressed or going through these difficult times? Because also it's also a time period when friends are loading themselves up on debt, right? So right now they're having a good time, they're able to go to the beach, when our kid is actually putting a night photography session on, because he's passionate about it, but he also needs to work, whereas the other kids are always available to party, and then the bills come due, and then things turn dark,
and then they're stuck
and
coming
then they're
back to live
stuck.
at home because they
Yeah,
don't
and a
have
lot of that is
their.
happening. And so when they get to about 22, 23, we have noticed they'll call us up and actually say thank you to us for a lot more of that
Just
now.
just have to let go and then see them. And then when they come back, I mean, I even asked each of the kids, okay, tell us about your blogging experience we made you do when you were, 12, 13, 16. And one of them said, I hate to even admit it, Mom, but it was actually so good because I have to write these emails to clients and so on. But they actually all came back giving positive reports about that. So I think now they see, especially because they're comparing where they are compared to what other people their age are doing. And I think they're a lot more grateful. And not to worry about debt is a big one. I think that they're very grateful they don't have to worry about student debt right now, which, if we were not against having them go on to get a degree after, but we just wanted to make sure they were very intentional if they did choose that route. And none of them have chosen to go that route, and they are in.
Yeah, we have said we both have college degrees,
Mhm.
and so we didn't have a bad experience. But honestly, looking back on it, it didn't really do that much for us. So, we give them the reality, because we tell them, when you get out, you have, go to college if it's going to accelerate you toward your goal, right?
Right.
So
If you
all of them
need
were
the
already more
degree to
advanced in the
get there.
degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so we tell them, well, hey, I'll tell you what college is like. There's the fun part of hanging out with friends, but that's not college. That's not the education part. You can hang out with friends now doing exactly that. Having late night parties. You can do that without going to college. The actual
Do
college
it. I
part
do
is
it.
you sitting in a
Enlist in the Marine
classroom.
Corps.
Yeah.
Enlist in the Marine Corps. You get the dorm experience and none of the debt. So
So
terrible
we're
idea.
not
Do
not
not
over.
listen to that.
Yeah, so I think that's what happens with the kids. In our experience, has been they do come back after 2, 3 years and really put the pieces together and see what they are, where they are now, because they were able to sort of invest
And they're
in.
trying to hire. The funny thing is, they're trying to hire people to work for them and having a really, really hard time finding quality workers. So that's kind of, that's just the day and age that we live in now compared to the past, I think. But knowing that that could have been them is kind of nice to know that no, they do work hard.
Hiring employees with the education, but not
Oh,
the skills,
right.
and that, yeah, I could see it. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for just letting me pick your brain and share it with
Sure.
the audience. I've really appreciated this. You guys ready for the lightning round as we wrap up?
Yeah.
let's do it.
Okay. Who would like to go first on each question?
Can we just like answer if you just shoot one out and one of us answers it?
Okay, that's fine.
Then we might both
Um,
answer.
coffee or tea, and how do you like it prepared?
Bulletproof coffee for me.
I like mine black with a splash of milk in it. The
All
espresso.
right. Okay. Pie or cake, and do you have a favorite kind?
Raspberry Pi, because our son, the coder, was into Raspberry Pi Day, which was a phenomenon, and our local store had a raspberry slash rhubarb pie that would come out around that time, and we would get it for him. It was always a big deal. We'd celebrate because he had his Raspberry Pi, the
Yeah.
electronics, and everybody got to enjoy it. And we still have a picture of him eating it. So it was a celebration of him, his talent, and Raspberry Pi just for the fun of it.
I would say the strawberry rhubarb that your mom
And
used to
strawberry rhubarb. But it actually had rhubarb in it.
make.
So
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about Raspberry Pi. Man, that seems so long ago. Um, you mean you guys have been challenging them this entire time, but what's a common belief among entrepreneurs that you would want to challenge?
I think there are too many that don't pass on what they know and can do onto their kids. And like we said, this like the earlier you start, the easier it is. It just involve them as much as you can, and it does take time. You have to stop and train or take the time to do it, but it just makes it a lot easier later on. Then when they get good at something that they can turn around and jump in and help you.
Okay, Jonathan, anything different?
yeah, don't believe that a school can replace you. So I have heard this said, and I think it's true, that if you're successful in your business, you think that the local school you're sending your kids to can be better than you in teaching those skills, and that is not true. Not true at all. So if you hand it off entirely to them, they will migrate back to the average. I really believe that. So they won't understand how you think and how you got to where it is. And they're being taught by people who are lesser people in that area of life. And so I think that creates an unfortunate dichotomy in your kid's mind. So you have to stay in charge.
What's your favorite holiday and why?
I would say Thanksgiving. When we can get all the kids together, and now we have a grandson, we have two married.
Oh,
When we can get everybody together, that to me, and it's not even that. Um, I think it's just for me sitting back and watching the siblings talk is so much fun, especially when they reminisce and they bring up things like we'll just sit there and listen to them talk about how either I or Jonathan dealt with something. It's really it's a lot of fun.
my brother and I used to torment my mom early on with just the memories that she would have no idea that we had done things
Yeah,
or she'd
yeah, those
forgotten
come
them.
up too.
Yeah, that was fun for us for a couple years there when we'd first left the house. Now I'm terrified of it myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if my kids retained?
I know.
Do you guys consider yourselves morning people, night people, one of each? And do you have a favorite routine, each of you?
We're definitely morning
Yeah.
people. We get up really early, and it's a habit we started 5 years ago, maybe
Like
more.
8 years ago, if you're talking
Yeah,
about the
going
gym.
to the gym super early. That
We get there by
is really a
6.
lifts our mood
Yeah,
up a
we
lot.
we get there by 6, so which is like 20 minutes away. So we're up early, and then we're home when our daughters are starting to wake up.
Okay. You guys take a class together there, or you just
No, we can't work out
hit the
together.
machines and
No, we
everything?
We
can't.
don't. We can work. We can
Secrets
work
of married
together.
life. We can be in the same building, but we can't be doing the same class or exercise.
No, we learned that.
Gotcha.
We learned that when we were newly married, but yeah, just our
Gotcha.
own weight training and whatever routines. Yeah.
Okay. What's one thing that you would want your successor to remember you for?
That we cared, successor meaning business wise.
Yeah, not necessarily your kids, because that's a whole different, different conversation. But yeah, somebody that took over the business or that watched you or that was alongside that journey with you. And
If that were the case, I would think that we developed something that's, for lack of a better word, humane. It was people friendly. In other words, you could work in this environment and have a life.
Yeah.
So we definitely, made decisions along the way. We could have made different decisions, but it would have been a lot harsher on family and just
Some things could have made it
marriage
easier, and we could have probably grown the business faster, and we would have probably been even more successful. But
at the
I feel
cost
like,
of family
yeah,
life.
the
That would
cost.
have been hard. So I think we've always been aware of that. And so probably I would say if someone took over our business, that it's kind of baked in to a lot of the things we do. So you'd have to really break the process to make it unfriendly to families.
Yeah. And I think just as another one is just to be relatable with your own customers. I think that's helped me along the way from being a younger mom selling products that were really I thought of my customer avatar as being my age. So now it's funny because when people ask, well, how old are your customers? And I'm saying, well, they're like mid-50s on up. I don't know what happened. Like, okay, well, I aged with them. So.
Nice. Where are you guys finding creativity right now?
Toastmasters. We decided to join Toastmasters as a couple
Okay.
a few months ago, and we are having a blast.
Yeah.
It's just fun. There's so many different people there, all walks of life. Younger people, business owners, retired people, creative people, not so creative people, and just practicing our public speaking, our joke telling, inspirational moments, and that actually has been fun. We do that in the evenings
every week, once a week.
We're addicted to it now.
Yep.
So that is one activity you guys will do together then.
Yeah.
Unlike the gym. So
right.
How long have you guys been doing that one, the Toastmasters?
3 months now.
Yeah, at least.
Okay.
I think we haven't, well, I missed last night, but we pretty much have made every single meeting for 3 months.
How many times have you guys been on on stage?
You were last night. Probably, well, every
3
week you have an opportunity to say something, but as far as giving a speech, you've given 3 and
Yeah,
I've given 2.
Not be every single time you are expected to volunteer to joke for a joke of the day, or an inspirational moment or something very small. So a lot of it has to do with just also learning how to get up, shake a hand, just all the social graces that go with being in a public environment. And there's so much camaraderie, and you get dinged if you say too many ahs and filler words, which is half the fun.
All right, great. Last question. What's one thing that you've got coming up in the next year or so that's got you really excited about the future?
I think we're still navigating the local moms and dads of teens and opportunities there with our workshops. That's still because that's kind of new doing it local. We've been doing that online, but not really locally. So I think kind of navigating that and trying to figure out where people are at and what their needs are. We feel like we have the answer for them, but seeing where they are and noticing whether or not it's something they can see the value of we're trying to, like, in the past it would have been more frustrating and like, come on, this is what the thing, you just got to try it. And now it's more like, okay, we'll just have to listen in on these conversations, see where people are at, let them out, like you ask the questions, and try to figure out how to show people. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but it's also very stimulating to see what people are talking about too. So yeah.
Yeah. After 15 years of serving one type of customer, now you've got a different one that you've got to listen to and find out what they value. So
yeah.
Are those, is that a one-time seminar? Is it a weekly course? What's that look like locally for you guys? Once a month, once a quarter?
Well, no,
every other
the
week?
online courses are self-contained, so you can sign up and do that anytime. So we're not doing it live. It's pre-recorded. And there are exercises that go with it. And I have it on a website that allows you to it keeps track and notifies me when people complete it. So that's
specifically the in-person ones. Are you guys doing them every
that's
week
what
at
we're
different
trying
locations?
to. Yeah. So what we're doing is putting on little mini seminars, introducing the idea of how they can get started. And that's where in the discovery phase. So as we're doing this, we're also listening to people tell us where their pain points are and what they're trying to do. So there's curiosity, but we're not really sure how and if it will translate into action if they want to go to the next level. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to figure out.
Because ideally, like, for example, in the summertime when kids are out of school, you have 2 options. Either they're already packed with activities because it's the summertime, or they're doing vacation. What we would see it as is, no, it's ideal. School's out. You have time. You need to fill that time with something that could be productive. So might as well come and find out from us how to navigate building those talents so that by the time school does start up again, you have a mindset that, okay, if I'm assigned an English essay, you have to do an English essay. Why don't you, if you're not homeschooled, why don't you talk to your teacher about like, oh, this is what I've learned over the summer. Can I do my essay on that? Because I know that you want me to cover all these different research topic types of research. I can do that. So if it's a mindset switch that we can get the kids going on, or just starting their talent building during the summer, that's how I would see it as being ideal. So that's the part about the discovery phase that
we honestly don't know. And people come from very different walks of life.
We keep thinking everybody does things the way we do it. And then we realize, no, that's not true.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Awesome.
So,
all right. Well, this is the chance to tell people where they can go to find out more information. So go ahead and let everybody know.
I'd be parenttheirpassion.com. So there's 2 T's next to each other, Parent Their Passion. And then the same for Instagram and Facebook. We like to post what our kids are doing. It's fun to watch what our adult kids post, because it's usually in their field that they're working in. So if my daughter's doing something and she's illustrating something, she makes a little video how she illustrated this, put it together, then I'll usually share that and say, okay, this is what your 23-year-old could do. But guess what? When she was 12, this is what she was doing. So trying to we have one of our sons is a machinist, so he's got lots of videos of his work in his machinist environment. And so just being able to share that, Instagram would be enough of a good place to start with following and seeing what the results could look like.
And you can email me directly. I do read my email all the time and I will reply. It's jonathan@parenttheirpassion.com. So Jonathan is JONATHAN @parenttheirpassion.com. And if you have a question, ask me. Also, if you go to our website and you just put your email right on that main page, you'll get a free download, which is like a self-discovery process. So you can get a taste of the basic concept of how you can get started. So you can just take a piece of what we do and still get results. Of course, if you try a lot of the tips that we've tried, and it's going to be much easier to get there faster. But you can do just blogging, for example, and nothing else, and that's going to make a big difference.
And to come back to our e-commerce side, back to the farmer's market origin, that's hardlotion.com. So dry, cracked skin, lotion bars. That's hardlotion.com.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for this. I've really appreciated this conversation. Got a lot longer than normal episodes, but I think the listeners will get a lot of value from this. So I just want to thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. I hope that you've enjoyed my conversation with Jonathan and Renee Harris as much as I have. We have new episodes twice a month on The Art of Succession, interviewing business owners with their own succession stories. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, you can find the interview form linked down in the description below. If this has been a helpful conversation for you, I would ask that you please share it with another parent who would benefit from this. And I want to thank you for watching The Art of Succession.